The Auburn Tigers have won the SEC. They dominate the Florida Gators thanks to one of the more dominating performances I've ever seen. Of course, that is by Janai Broom. Welcome on into this championship edition of Locked On Auburn. I'm Zach Blackerby. He's Darrell Dapprich. Darrell, the Tigers are SEC champs.
You know, it's amazing that this game, not only did they win it, they won it like they've won basketball games all year. And to go ahead and take care of business in the SEC championship and win by 19, I didn't see that coming. I didn't. But I'm going to go ahead and say the D word right now. And it is, we've talked about depth all year. And you pointed out to me before we went live, the 7-minute mark on is when Auburn completely took control of this basketball game. And that's usually, Zach, when teams start to lose their legs, get fatigued, grab onto their bottom of their shorts. That 33-minute mark is where you hit the wall. And look, this is a team that scored 100 points in this tournament, that was shooting lights out against A&M, who's a good defensive team. And Auburn really clamped down on them. So the big lesson here is the way Auburn plays defense, it travels, man. And that speaks directly to depth. And I'll get into that later, making that point, but I kind of want to get you to respond to that. The depth and the defense go hand in hand, and I'll explain why later.
No question, especially with the effort that they did on the defensive side of the court. I mean, I can't imagine how frustrated Florida was. And obviously they dealt with the injury to their center, which I'm sure impacted their game plan and it allowed them to not have the ability to do some things that they wanted to do. And hopefully that young man is okay. It looked bad, Darrell. So hopefully, everything's okay with his recovery, and thoughts and prayers are with him. But, Auburn's depth, I mean, they were just aggressive. They were borderline obnoxious and suffocating from the Florida perspective. And over the course of 40 minutes, it just wore them down. And look, hats off to Florida. They played an extra game this tournament than Auburn did because they didn't get, that double bye. They played on Thursday. The fact that they were able to hang in, and they only play 8, and, one of their guys was down. The fact that they were able to hang in and make that strong push at the start of the second half like they did is pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive, but you can tell they just ran out of gas, and Auburn got hot. Chaney Johnson made a ridiculous 3. Trey Donaldson made 2 threes in the second half, and it was just too much. Auburn's relentless attack on both sides of the floor was too much for Florida on Sunday.
Depth isn't just about wearing your opponent down and making them tired. And here's what I mean when you talk about a defensive depth standpoint. Number one, when you keep throwing people over the boards, running people over the boards and throwing them out on the court, body after body after body at you, it takes its toll. Auburn is able to defend the way they defend because of depth on 2 fronts. Number one, you don't have to worry about picking up fouls or getting in foul trouble. If you get 2 or 3 fouls, you've got people coming off the bench that can take your place, and you're not going to foul. You don't have to worry about that factor of, hey, I can't foul out, so I can't guard the way I want to guard. I can't have the kind of energy and effort. That's the first thing. The second thing is you don't have to worry about expending or saving energy late in the basketball game, because when you get out there, you can go 100% all out, to the wall, and not worry about it because you're coming out in 4 or 5 minutes and then you get a rest. You don't have to preserve. You don't have to save yourself or save energy. Those 2 factors, not worrying about foul trouble so you can go nuts when you guard somebody and be aggressive, and not having to worry about saving energy, it's why they can guard that way. And then you just keep running body after body after body at people. That's where depth pays off, besides just making somebody, you're less tired than somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways that it benefits you. There's no question about it.
Should I give a full disclosure in case anybody wonders why they hear like 18-wheelers in the background and motorcycles? So just so people know, I apologize. I'm at a rest area. This was this important, and I wanted to bask in this so much, in such a wonderful, historic moment for Auburn. I'm on my way back from a trip, and so I'm doing this from a rest stop. But I would not be anywhere else than right here, right now, doing this. So it's too exciting to miss.
There were so many great moments for all of these players. And I mean, we mentioned tournament Trey stepped up. Aiden had a three that I think was pretty important at that time. But what Janai Broom did today will be talked about amongst Auburn fans 20 or 30 years from now. I mean, just the game plan, and I don't know if this was an adjustment because Florida was thinner down deep because of the injury. It seemed like this was the plan regardless, to attack the basket through Janai Broom and Jalen Williams. But it'd be pretty early in the clock, and they would just get it down to Janai, and sometimes it wasn't even close to the basket, and he would just kind of back it on up, and then had the touch, or sometimes he would turn around and attack the rim. But regardless, what Janai Broom did today, not only offensively, but defensively, with his ability to create blocks and create turnovers. He had 3 blocks. His 24 minutes today, it was just every minute he was in, he was making something happen on both sides of the floor. I mean, he would go and make a tough basket or go and draw a foul, and then Florida, the following possession, he would either get the rebound or force a tough shot down low for the Gators. Janai Broom, what he did today will be a historic performance for Auburn. The way we talk about like what Bryce Brown did against Tennessee in the SEC tournament championship in the 2019 season, I think we're going to talk about with what Janai Broom did today.
So there's 2 different ways to cement your legacy as an Auburn Tiger from a basketball Mount Rushmore standpoint. You can do it over over a course of a career. You could do it over a course of a season. Charles Barkley cemented his legacy in the '85 SEC tournament with what he did and how they beat Alabama, and he just went on. Chuck Person did it in the NCAA tournament when Auburn got to the Elite Eight that year and just lost to Louisville. Bryce Brown, as you mentioned, with Tennessee. There are certain Auburn basketball players that you remember for their tournament performances, and Janai Broom just solidified that. He is the MVP of the SEC tournament. He showed up and showed out larger than guys like Connect, who got all the publicity, and Mark Sears, who got a ton. And they're great players, don't get me wrong. But Broom outplayed him. He carried. Now, look, Auburn had a great supporting cast in this tournament, but they don't win this tournament without Janai Broom. He cemented his legacy as big-time Broom in this tournament. And, it's just a phenomenal one for the historical archives. When people talk about Auburn's run in the SEC tournament 10 years from now, you'll talk about Janai Broom.
Janai Broom. And no question. And just like with Bryce a few years ago, like that was a great team too. Your McLemores and your obviously Jared Harper was a big part of that. But
Chuma really, was
for sure. Yeah, but Janai Broom today, it's just they gave him the ball and there was nothing Florida could do. There was nothing he could do. And just his ability to do what he did today, I think it was incredible. Chris Moore, somebody said in the live chat a second ago, Chris Moore didn't miss a shot the entire tournament. Which I didn't realize. I mean, he was 3 for 3 today. So
even though the stat sheet is modest, it's very important the minutes that Chris Moore gave Auburn in this tournament. They were about as highly efficient as you could be for minutes, per points, per rebounds, per minutes, all that stuff. In the minutes that he played, the output that he gave, very, very underrated, very clutch performance for Chris Moore. So credit to him and how he showed up. He was big for Auburn. And I know it's only 7, 8, 9 minutes a game, but go look at his points per minute, his rebounds per minute, and what he did. And if you don't miss a shot in a freaking tournament in 3 games, I mean, it speaks volumes. It speaks for itself.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this with Chris Moore before. Like, if you're going into a brawl, he's the dude you want to bring with you.
Oh, I mean, tough. You got him and Chad Baker-Mazara in a foxhole with you.
For sure.
You're winning World War III, baby. I mean,
I think so. Yeah.
It's like the Allies over Germany. You take that all day long. Those 2 dudes are who you want to go with if you've got to go to battle. And so, And that's the difference in this team. They've got so many different guys that do so many different things that have so many different skill sets.
Yeah.
And like we said yesterday, Auburn can win a variety of ways. You want to get in a shootout with Auburn and get up in the 90s, they can beat you. You want to muck it up and get in a street fight, rock fight like Mississippi State did, they can beat you. That's very, very underrated to be able to win different styles.
I think so, man. I think so. Another thing I think this championship does is it says, hey, the legitimacy of Auburn basketball continues. This wasn't just a 3 or a 4 year stretch of, okay, well, they got lucky with Jabari and with Chuma and Jared Harper and Bryce Brown becoming what they did. This is now another championship that Bruce Pearl has on his resume and that Auburn basketball continues to stack, hang a banner, paint it on the side of Neville Arena, whatever you need to do, proclaim it to the world that Auburn basketball is a championship basketball program, a top basketball program in all of college basketball, because they can continue and compete for championships in the SEC, a conference that is towards the top of basketball and every single year. I think it kind of extends this whole thing of like, yeah, Bruce Pearl's legitimate, Auburn basketball is legitimate, and what the Auburn fan base has done to support this program, it's all legitimate. It was not just a flash in the pan.
Well, let's look at it. I always like to look at, I think that 10-year and 5-year snapshots are very, very important, and they're very pertinent. I mean, they matter, right? People use numbers and use years to advance their agenda, but a 5-year snapshot's pretty universal. Auburn has won 2 regular season titles, 2 conference tournament titles, and has a Final Four in those 5 years, and has only missed the tournament because of COVID, which I think that would have been a great team and a great run, and because of self-imposed sanctions. Other than that, it's the greatest 5-year run in Auburn basketball history, and it was the greatest 3 or 4 year run in Auburn basketball history. And so to speak to your point, they just stacked it. They've stacked on it on the back end. And, you know, this team, I feel like if you were to go in that locker room, this is my feeling, and this is why I think they're so successful. If you go in that locker room right now, they are just basking in the glory of an SEC title.
Sure.
But they know they got bigger fish to fry. And tomorrow, after they celebrate this and get greeted on Auburn's campus tonight and people roll Toomer's Corner, their attention's going to turn to, okay, what are we going to do to win us a title in the NCAA tournament? Because this team, I'm not blowing sunshine and I'm not overbooging. This team has the potential and the components to make a deep, deep run in the tournament. And I will say this too. I don't know if it was Corey Williams or if it was Stephen Pearl who did the scout on Florida for the second time, getting to play an opponent a second time. So you go back to film and you pick things up. Whoever did it, one of the best jobs and the best scouts I've seen by an assistant coach in a long time.
It was great. It was great, especially the offensive game plan. And I know it seems so simple. Oh, we'll just give it to Janai Broom and he'll make it happen. But the spacing, the off-ball movement. I mean, there was a play early on that the TV broadcast they drooled about over and over again when it was Denver Jones kind of running on the baseline, and I forget who it was who found him underneath, but there was a moment like that. There was a moment for Katie Johnson underneath. I mean, they just did such a good job putting their players in positions to succeed. That combined with just the overall effort. I mean, this team wanted this championship. Like there is no question about it. They smelled it. They smelled blood in the water, and they went after it and got it. And I think that kind of extends all the way back to South Carolina, especially after Tennessee lost. It's like the path to winning a championship will never be easier in this conference than what they just did.
But you have to take advantage of it.
You've got to take advantage of it. And that's exactly what they did.
And for those that say the path was easy, and for those fan bases, particularly 3 of them, that want to point out that the path was easy, well, the path was easy because you got your eyes beat out.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Alabama, all that wanted, their fan. The path was allegedly easier, but it was easier because they beat you. The A&M, Mississippi State and Florida took care of business. That's the first thing. The second thing, we've been talking about all year about how this offense, this 5-out offense that Bruce Pearl kind of went to this year, was so well suited for Auburn. So when you talk about Denver Jones on the baseline and the TV announcers raving about it, it's because Auburn's bigs are elite passers.
Yeah.
You don't get that often. So Broom can come out high to the top of the key. He has become such a good – he has point guard vision with his passing. He does. He finds guys under the basket. He finds guys cutting. He finds back doors. And typically they're like Chad Baker-Mazara or Denver Jones or guys like that doing that. So, someone just gave me a thumbs up there. I don't know.
Do a thumbs up again. I think you've got that setting turned on. Do a thumbs up again.
Me?
Yeah, just do one. Like, make it where they can see it.
I don't think so. I don't.
Yeah. No. I know what setting you have on. That's hilarious. I love it.
My bad.
Right.
I apologize.
No, I think it's great. Great.
But yeah, I think that all those factor into it. When you get bigs that can pass like Auburn does, that's a luxury. It really is.
Yeah, and sometimes it feels like the bigs are throwing out better passes than the guards at some points. So we'll see. And I think a lot of the times with the guards, it's they get so excited. You could tell they get so hyped up and excited in like fast break opportunities where they just kind of throw stuff up and they're making highlights happen, which is fine because most of the time it works. Like throughout the season, like it's worked a ton. It's like, oh, okay. If you're going to do the explosive stuff, like sometimes it doesn't go that way. All right, let's do what we've done all year. Live chat. Outside of Janai Broom, who was your player of the game for the SEC champion Auburn Tigers? We continue that discussion next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Amazon Fire TV. I love Amazon Fire. Darrell, use Amazon Fire as well. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games, the highlights, to in-depth analysis. You can buy an Amazon Fire Stick, Darrell, which is what you have. It sounds like it is just a USB thing, and you plug it into the back of your TV. But they've got all sorts of stuff available once you do that.
It makes it a smart TV, just in case you don't have one. And that was a beautiful feature that we use. And I love using it in different rooms, right? Different TVs in different rooms. Very, very key for streaming.
Yeah, Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands. Locked On does that. We now have Fire TV channels that are live 24/7, so be sure to check that out. To learn more, visit Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. The player of the game for me was Janai Broom, but if you go after that, Darrell, I really like what Chaney Johnson did today. And statistically, 3 of 7 for 7 points. He made one of his 3 threes. But it just always seemed like Chaney Johnson was around the basketball and impacting the game and doing some things off ball. And then defensively, they don't really show up in the stat sheet. But Chaney Johnson was just the peak, essential, quintessential role player in Auburn becoming SEC champion. So I want to give a nod to Chaney Johnson. What say you?
Well, full disclosure, I like to have my eyeballs on a game to be able to determine that. And I was driving. So when people talk about light shows, if I was watching the game while driving, they really would have seen a light show. It would have been me getting put in a squad car with handcuffs. So it sounded to me like, I agree with you, Chaney Johnson's minutes were crucial. Auburn answered some runs, which was another thing. I think Florida cut it to 1 by going on a 7-0 run, and then Auburn came right back and said, I'll see your 7, and I'll raise you 7. And Chaney Johnson was in that. He just seemed to be very crucial and a key component of some big moments of the game. So I would say him, and then I would say probably 1A would be Denver Jones. Again, they're big shots. They're not just that he made them, they're when he made them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Denver Jones, I think, especially in the first half when Auburn kind of, was able to build up that lead, which proved to be important because of the way the second half started. Like you said, Florida cutting it down to 1. That was huge. And he's gotten so much better really in every aspect of his game. But it seems like this past week, I've noticed him attacking the basket more and being better around the rim. When the last month of the season, he's really been getting better and better from shooting it from deep. And now he's kind of added a different element to his game. So Denver Jones, I mean, that's a tough guy you've got a game plan for and defend now. But Yeah, Auburn's ability to answer runs. Their ability to answer runs was crucial because it really seemed like, I mean, Florida was running on fumes. They were gassed. And that's the nature of the tournament, right? Especially if you're not a top 4 seed. Like, you got to win 4 games in 4 days if you're not a top 4 seed, which is what Florida would have had to do. That's a lot. And most teams in the SEC aren't as deep as Auburn. And so, like, you're going to run out of gas. Like, that's going to be tough for you to do, which totally makes sense. But them cutting it to 1 and then Auburn having the composure to say no and then go on a little bit of a run themselves, emotionally, it really seemed like that broke them. Like, it really seemed for Auburn to go on and win by 19 when it was a 1-point game early in the second half. Like, it just really seemed like that run, that counter punch is what did it.
A lot of times people will associate depth with physical fatigue and just getting tired, but emotionally it takes a toll as well. And I think that's where you saw it. Once Auburn answered that run, I think depth played a part, and physically, besides physically, emotionally, Florida was fatigued. They were done. And it's just, you could see that in the way Auburn made its run. We talked a lot about this depth thing and about Bruce Pearl playing 11 guys, because remember, Berman probably would have played some minutes too had he been healthy. And you asked the question before we went into conference play, can we sustain this? Will depth matter when SEC play starts, or will Auburn shorten its bench a little bit? And I felt like it would. I still felt like that even though we got into the SEC games and we thought they were going to be closer, that depth would still play a part, that Bruce wouldn't go away from that and still play 10 guys. He stayed true. That expression, you dance with who brung you, when you go to a big dance. And that's what Bruce Pearl did. He didn't change that. People were screaming about it during some points of games this year. Why is so-and-so playing? Well, because Auburn's legs were fresh for 3 games in 3 days, and it paid off. It is what it is. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And just the overall minutes too. And that was a big factor, is Auburn doesn't play guys for over 25 minutes unless they really need a Janai Broom or, maybe a Trey Donaldson. I think had a few games there where he was really needed, but yeah, it's just, that's who this team is. That's just who this team is. And boy, does Jalen Williams' career at Auburn get a little bit better too. I mean, Auburn's all-time, I don't think that'll ever be broken, all-time winningest player in the history of Auburn basketball. That'll probably never be broken. But now I guess he's got another championship to kind of put on his resume. So you love it for him too.
He's got 2 SEC tournament titles and 1 regular season title on his resume. And that's not by accident. He's a key component in that. And
Does he have a tournament title?
I thought the 2019 team, was he not on that team? Maybe he wasn't. Maybe it was the 20 team. It was his first year.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the 2020. Maybe it was 2019/2020, and that's where I was thinking 19.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's it, because he's got the SEC championship with Jabari.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe the fumes from those 18-wheelers at a rest area got to me a little bit there, and I thought that 1920. I was thinking 19.
Yeah, he was a freshman in 1920. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So there you go. And the other thing about him is, let's not underestimate where we thought this season was going about a month ago when he went down, right, and grabbed that knee. I mean, so how blessed is he and Auburn's fans and that team that not only is he playing, he's playing at a high level. But again, blessing in disguise, because Chaney Johnson and Denver Jones have been different and Chad Baker-Mazar to a certain extent have been different players since Jalen went down.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Dylan Cardwell was great today. I mean, this whole tournament run has been almost symbolic of what this team could be with all of these guys. And somebody put into the live chat in the first few minutes of the broadcast, but it's like, name one Auburn player that didn't play well in the tournament. And it's like, you really can't.
That's a good point. That's
like,
a very good point.
KD was probably below his average as far as like efficiency on offense, but he was such a good defender. Yeah, so it's like, you can't say him. You can't say anybody.
He was big on Hubbard in stretches yesterday.
Great point.
Hubbard is a player, and Hubbard is a dude, and KD got him out of his rhythm some of the first half and the second. So Just playing well doesn't equate to just offensively. You rebound the basketball, you get great assists, you lock somebody down defending, you're still playing well, right? It's not just about going for 16. Coaches know that. And so I agree with that statement. Total great point. I can't think of one person that didn't play well. And we even won a basketball game by 19 with Pat Adams officiating. I'm just thinking that it's the end of the world. It's end times. It's Armageddon. I'm a little concerned about what next week might bring. Pat Adams. Whew.
I'm glad the one that was close was yesterday. One from like my emotional health and Auburn fans as a whole.
Can you see the difference in my cheeks? The blood
you seem a lot more relaxed today, for sure. But it was so great for the team to have the last 10 minutes of that game. Like, I mean, especially those last 5 when it was clearly in hand or whatever, they really slowed the game down.
Listen, any coach loves to pull people out of the lineup with 2 minutes left to go to get their hugs and their accolades and the crowd.
Let them have the moment. Taking Janai out
if it's a close game. I mean, that's what when I used to coach on senior nights, I prayed for a blowout so that I could do that. And they were able to do that in the finals of the SEC title game. I mean, look, it's beautiful. It's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling and well-deserved. I go back to the feeling that you and I had doing the Auburn-Alabama game in Coleman last year when Auburn had that game won and, was up big and blew it late. There were some devastating losses last year. And didn't feel that way this year. Felt like Auburn won the games they were supposed to win. This season and how this thing played out a lot of times wasn't rocket science. It was like, this is what Auburn needs to do to win. And then they did it. And so that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. I don't know if you just saw this, have been notified of this. This isn't great. Sonny H is saying Pat Adams just gave Dap a technical.
Well, I got something.
Do you have an official statement on that?
Yeah, if Pat Adams ever gives me a technical or like what happened with that fan getting ejected, you can bet I'm going to get my money's worth.
Oh.
It's not going to be pretty, Pat Adams. It's killing me. But that was,
right.
I mean, that was 1940.
So obviously, Auburn fans are now saying Auburn should be a 2 seed. I don't think there's any chance of that happening. I hope they are. I would be shocked if they were. I do, however, think they are a 3 seed. We started seeing bracketologists this morning put out Auburn kind of being, I haven't seen anybody that's put out their bracketology things today say Auburn's a 4 seed. I've seen it unanimous 3. I've looked at like 6 or 7 this morning. Before this game, they were a 3 across the board. I think they've made their decision already. I don't think the game today impacted that. I think the game today was about pride and about winning a championship for the SEC and hanging a banner, and our guys certainly did that. I think they're a 3 seed, Darrell. A lot of the ones, I think all but one of the ones I read this morning have us in UConn's bracket. Don't love that, but you're going to have to beat somebody good to get to the Final Four anyway.
Exactly. I think Auburn was a 3 seed regardless of what happened today, unless they got absolutely blown out. I think they were a 3 seed. And it's a rare occurrence that you go into an SEC tournament and raise your seed line. It's usually getting into the tournament is getting into the NCAA tournament. So Auburn doing that, it's rare. I'm telling you, going into this tournament as a 4 and probably coming out tonight as a 3 doesn't happen that often. And it speaks to how well they played and what kind of show they put on in this tournament. They grabbed some attention, turned some heads. Plus, let's be honest, there's a lot of teams that lost around them that underachieved, the Dukes, the Kentuckys. Alabama was on their seed line. So some teams that lost, I think that played a part in it as well.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where they put Alabama, Kentucky, and Kansas, just because the way that they've trended this week. I'm interested.
Guess what? We'll get to talk about it, right? Spoiler alert. You can go ahead and announce that.
Yeah, we're planning on going live tonight at some point. It won't be right after. We got to make sure Darrell gets home, and he's got a few things to take care of, and I probably do too because of my real job. So we'll discuss all that tonight at some point. And when we get a set time, we'll schedule on YouTube and we'll tweet it out. Make sure all of y'all do that. So be sure to turn on notifications, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you'll get notified of all that. But we'll go live at some point tonight to discuss Auburn's
selection
path.
Special show. You win a championship, we'll go bonus today. We'll go 2. We'll go double bonus, right?
live chat. If your team won a championship today, put something in the chat right now. If your team won the SEC today, put something in the chat, and please like the video. I just, what a great moment. What a great moment. And it sounds like, we went live right when the ceremony, the postseason or the post-game ceremony was happening. It sounds like Bruce Pearl talked a second about losing his father, and it was very emotional. And a lot of people were talking about, even folks that aren't Auburn people were tweeting about like, wow, that really got me emotionally. We'll try to get Darrell back in a second. Darrell, can you hear me still? Can you still hear me? No, maybe we'll see. But that, just what a cool moment that was in regards to what Auburn can be. Just very, very, very fun stuff. So, we'll drop a few. Darrell, if you'll hop out, I'll hop back in. I think that'll fix it. Yeah, great. Any takes? How far are you expecting Auburn to go in the NCAA tournament? I'm seeing a lot of people say Final Four. Like, is that the expectation now because Auburn was so hot to finish the season? Like, is the expectation for Auburn to go to the Final Four? Live chat, let me know how far you expect Auburn to go at this point. Because my thing is, Darrell, like, you're going to have to play some tough teams. You're going to have things go your way. I mean, people forget the 2019 team. We almost lost in the first round, but Javon McCormick, like, really saved the season. What do you think expectations should be before seeing the bracket, obviously? All right. Darrell, you're good, man. You're good. I think we ran out of juice. Connecting via phone, but that is okay. But yeah, a lot of people saying Natty, which I love. Record next 6 games is 7-0. I love that. But we'll see. We'll see. It's so tough and it's impossible to predict. The first goal needs to be to win the first one, obviously, but to get through that first weekend, make it to the Sweet 16, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Somebody is saying, Stuckey is saying Auburn and Iowa State may be the most dangerous teams in the country. I agree with you. And I actually probably would have put Florida in that conversation too. I think Florida is really good. I think they had a really, really unfortunate injury happen. But a few of the brackets that I was looking at this morning had Iowa State, Auburn, and UConn all in the same part of the bracket. So that'd be a tough draw for Auburn. But let's just remember, like, the one time we've seen Auburn make this run in recent history, it was like the worst draw ever. It doesn't matter. You're going to have to beat good teams. You're going to have to beat teams that are peaking at the right time. You just got to be better than them. And look, I wouldn't want to play Auburn. I would not want to play the Auburn Tigers right now. I think the first goal needs to be, can Auburn make it to the Sweet 16? Because that's kind of been the issue, is winning that second game in the NCAA tournament. So as Darrell mentioned earlier, we will be live later today, and I'm looking forward to chatting about where Auburn is in the bracket with all of you. Be sure to give Darrell Dapprich some love. He please tweet at him, message him on Discord, whatever. Give him some love because they're driving home several hours, and he pulled over into a rest stop to do this show because he loves you guys and he loves talking about Auburn basketball so much. Please like the video. Please subscribe. And just remember, we're SEC champions. War Eagle. This has been Locked On Auburn.